In the grand tapestry of global economics, China has long been the vibrant red thread, weaving its way through markets and minds alike. But as summer fades into autumn, that thread appears to be fraying, leaving economists and policymakers scrambling to understand the implications of a manufacturing powerhouse suddenly sputtering. Let's set the scene. Picture a vast factory floor in Shenzhen, once humming with the rhythmic precision of 1,000 workers assembling the world's gadgets. Now imagine that same floor, quieter, with empty workstations and machines standing idle. This isn't just an isolated snapshot. It's a panorama stretching across the Middle Kingdom. For the fourth consecutive month, China's factory activity has contracted. The official Manufacturing Purchasing Managers Index, PMI, a thermometer of sorts for the industrial sector's health, dipped to 49.1 in August, down from July's already tepid 49.4. To put this in perspective, anything below 50 on this scale signals contraction. It's as if the economy is running a persistent fever, and the usual remedies aren't bringing the temperature down. Now, I'm not one for doom and gloom. After all, we've seen China overcome obstacles before. But there's something different this time, a sense that the old playbook might not work anymore. It's like watching a star athlete struggle with a nagging injury. You know the talent is there, but the performance just isn't the same. The ripple effect. China's $17 trillion economy isn't just big. It's a behemoth that sends ripples, or sometimes tsunamis, across the global economic pond. When China sneezes, to borrow a phrase, the world doesn't just catch a cold. It rushes to the pharmacy to stock up on every remedy available. Consider this. China's manufacturing sector isn't just about producing cheap trinkets anymore. We're talking about everything from solar panels to electric vehicles, from cutting-edge semiconductors to the very robots that are revolutionizing factory floors worldwide. A hiccup in this production chain doesn't just mean fewer smartphones on shelves. It means potential disruptions in the global push towards renewable energy, in the race for technological supremacy, and in the delicate balance of international trade. And let's not forget the human element. Behind every percentage point drop in the PMI are real people, workers whose livelihoods depend on these factories humming along, small business owners who supply these industrial giants, and families whose dreams of upward mobility are tied to China's economic miracle. The property puzzle. At the heart of China's current economic woes lies a conundrum that would give even the most seasoned Rubik's Cube champion pause. The property market. For years, China's growth has been fueled by a real estate boom that seemed unstoppable. Gleaming skyscrapers and sprawling apartment complexes sprouted like bamboo after a spring rain, symbols of China's rapid urbanization and growing middle class. But as any gardener knows, even the hardiest plants can't grow to the sky. The property market's roots have started to rot, infected by overspeculation, debt-laden developers, and a demographic shift that's cooling demand faster than anyone anticipated. It's as if the sector built a house of cards, and now a gentle breeze threatens to topple the entire structure. This property downturn isn't just a problem for real estate tycoons and aspiring homeowners. It's a lead weight dragging down consumer confidence and business sentiment. When people feel less wealthy because their home values are stagnating or falling, they're less likely to splurge on that new refrigerator or take that family vacation. And when businesses see this belt tightening, they become more cautious about expanding or investing in new projects. The result? A vicious cycle that's spilling over into manufacturing and beyond. Factories that once churned out construction materials now find their order books thinning. The ecosystem of services that grew around the property boom, from interior design firms to moving companies, is feeling the pinch. It's a stark reminder that in an economy as interconnected as China's, no sector is an island. The policy puzzle. In the halls of power in Beijing, one can almost hear the gears turning as policymakers grapple with this economic Rubik's Cube. The traditional levers of stimulus, interest rate cuts, infrastructure spending, tax incentives have been pulled, but the response has been muted at best. It's as if the economy has developed a resistance to these fiscal antibiotics. The People's Bank of China has cut interest rates, but businesses and consumers remain cautious about borrowing. The government has announced infrastructure projects, but the multiplier effect seems diminished. It's like trying to jumpstart a car with a weak battery. There's a sputter of life, but not the roar of acceleration we've come to expect from China's economic engine. President Xi Jinping's government is targeting GDP growth of about 5% this year, a figure that once would have been considered conservative but now looks increasingly ambitious. Achieving this goal may require a level of government intervention that harks back to the command economy days, a move that could conflict with China's stated aims of market reforms and sustainable growth. The global chess game. As if navigating domestic economic challenges wasn't complicated enough, China finds itself in an increasingly complex international environment. Trade tensions with the United States and Europe are rising like the tide, threatening to swamp the very manufacturing sector that China is relying on to keep its growth target in sight. It's a high-stakes game of economic chess, where moves made in Washington, Brussels, or Beijing can reshape global supply chains overnight. The push for decoupling and friendshoring in Western capitals is more than just political rhetoric. It's a fundamental challenge to China's position as the world's factory floor. Take semiconductors, for instance. These tiny chips are the brains of everything from smartphones to smart missiles, and China's ambitions in this sector have set off alarm bells from Silicon Valley to the Pentagon. The result? Export controls, investment scrutiny, and a race for technological self-sufficiency that's redrawing the map of global innovation. Or consider renewable energy. China has positioned itself as a leader in solar panel and electric vehicle production, but concerns about market dominance and unfair competition are leading to calls for protectionist measures in Europe and beyond. It's a reminder that in the 21st century economy, geopolitics and economics are two sides of the same coin. The human factor. Amidst all the talk of PMIs, GDP targets, and trade tensions, it's crucial not to lose sight of the human dimension of China's economic challenges. Behind every statistic is a story of factory workers wondering if their jobs are secure, of young graduates facing a tightening job market, of parents reconsidering their children's future in light of changing economic realities. China's economic miracle has lifted hundreds of millions out of poverty, creating a middle class larger than the entire population of the United States. But with this prosperity has come rising expectations for stable employment, for affordable housing, for clean air and safe food. The current economic headwinds threaten not just growth figures, but the social contract that has underpinned China's stability and development. In conversations with Chinese friends and colleagues, one senses a mix of concern and resilience. There's worry about the future, yes, but also a deep-seated belief in China's ability to overcome challenges. It's a reminder that economics is as much about psychology as it is about numbers, about confidence, expectations, and the collective will to forge ahead in the face of adversity. The road ahead. So where does China go from here? The path forward is neither straight nor clear, but a few signposts are visible through the economic fog. First, there's a growing recognition that the old model of growth, heavily reliant on investment and exports, needs to evolve. The emphasis on dual circulation, with its focus on domestic consumption and technological self-reliance, is more than just a slogan. It's a roadmap for a more sustainable and resilient economic future. Second, the property sector's woes are likely to prompt a rethink of how urbanization and development are managed. The era of building ghost cities and speculative real estate investments may be drawing to a close, replaced by a more measured approach that better aligns supply with genuine demand. Third, China's push for technological leadership, from artificial intelligence to quantum computing, will intensify. This isn't just about economic competitiveness. It's about national security and global influence in an age where data and algorithms are as strategically important as oil and steel were in the 20th century. Finally, there's the question of reform. The current challenges may provide the impetus for long-discussed changes in areas like state-owned enterprise reform, financial market liberalization, and social safety net expansion. The balance between state control and market forces remains a delicate one, but necessity often proves to be the mother of invention, or in this case, innovation in governance. A global perspective. As we ponder China's economic future, it's worth stepping back to consider the broader implications for the global economy. China's role as a growth engine, a source of demand, and a hub of innovation means that its economic health is a matter of global concern. For multinational companies, the calculus of engagement with China is becoming increasingly complex. The promise of a vast and growing market must be weighed against geopolitical risks, regulatory uncertainties, and the potential for sudden policy shifts. It's no longer enough to simply be in China. Companies must navigate a landscape where economic and political considerations are increasingly intertwined. For policymakers in other countries, China's economic challenges present both risks and opportunities. On one hand, a slowdown in China could dampen global growth and disrupt supply chains. On the other, it may create openings for other countries to step up in areas like manufacturing or to forge new economic partnerships. The environmental dimension cannot be overlooked either. China's economic trajectory will have profound implications for global efforts to combat climate change and transition to sustainable development. A shift away from carbon-intensive growth could accelerate the global green transition. Conversely, a return to old patterns of development could set back climate goals significantly. Conclusion: the long view. As we navigate the complexities of China's current economic challenges, it's tempting to get lost in the minutiae of monthly data points and policy announcements. But perhaps the most valuable perspective is the long view, one that recognizes that China's economic journey, like its history, is measured not in years but in decades and centuries. The current headwinds are significant, no doubt. The manufacturing slump, the property market woes, the geopolitical tensions, these are formidable challenges that will test China's economic resilience and policy acumen. But they are also part of a larger story of transformation, of a nation reimagining its place in the global economy and its path to prosperity. In the grand sweep of history, China has faced and overcome challenges that dwarf even the current economic difficulties. From the ravages of war to the upheavals of revolution, from isolation to integration with the global economy, China's capacity for adaptation and reinvention has been a constant thread. As we look to the future, the question is not whether China will continue to be a major player in the global economy. That much is certain. The real questions are about the nature of that role, the model of development it will pursue, and the ways in which it will interact with the rest of the world. For investors, policymakers, and citizens around the world, understanding China's economic evolution is not just an academic exercise. It's a practical necessity. The decisions made in Beijing, the innovations emerging from Shenzhen, the consumption patterns in Shanghai, these will shape the global economic landscape for years to come. In the end, China's economic story is a human story of aspirations and challenges, of innovation and tradition, of the complex interplay between state and market, between the individual and society. It's a story that affects us all, whether we're in New York or New Delhi, in boardrooms or on factory floors. As we watch China navigate its current economic headwinds, we're not just observing an abstract set of statistics. We're witnessing a chapter in one of the most consequential economic narratives of our time. The next pages of that story are yet to be written, but one thing is certain: they will be read with interest around the world. In the meantime, as China grapples with its manufacturing slump and broader economic challenges, the world watches and waits, not with detachment, but with the keen awareness that in our interconnected global economy, China's path forward will help shape all of our futures.